Yeah,
Right.
sorry. I had my microphone off, so sorry. So, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. This is the first interview I'm making in English, so yeah, I'm also like kind of nervous. So yeah, but thank you for accepting this interview. And well, just like I said, you are the first guest that speaks in English, and I'm gonna add like the subtitles like once I edit this video. So yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry that my Spanish, even after being here for a year, my Spanish is still very small. Uh, so I've got a lot to learn. I thought it was going to be easier, but it's it's not quite as easy as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I know, but don't worry about it. I mean, like, hopefully you'll get used to it, and yeah, I mean, I think that happens like with any language, but yeah, it's like a process. So, Drew, tell us about yourself. Well, first of all, I want to introduce our guest. He's Drew Combs.
Comes, yeah,
Combs, right?
yeah.
Okay. Um, he has been 16 and a half years sober now. He's from North Carolina. And just like he said, he's living he has been living in Mexico for 1 year now, and he's a welder, metal artist, and a race director. So let's give him an applause. And well, tell us about yourself.
Um, my wife and I moved down here a little over a year ago. She took a job as the high school art teacher at the American School of Guadalajara. Um, and I'm currently not working. I'm trying to build a coaching service and hoping to maybe build a client base here in Mexico um, or abroad and kind of do it remotely. Um, but yeah, right now it's just kind of like running and exploring the city and meeting new people and going out on the trails. So my old job back home did not necessarily translate to remote work for me. I worked in a manufacturing facility um, where we made hollow metal doors and frames for like hotels and hospitals and schools and stuff like that. I worked as a welder and production supervisor and I kind of did a little bit of everything while I was there. I was in the industry for about 13 years, so um, I did a little bit of everything that they asked me to. Um, and
Okay, okay. Well, yeah. Now that you mentioned it, I also had like this time once where I didn't have a job. Not because I don't not because I didn't want to, but like I also had like this situation where I was like, okay, uh I'm trying to see where I can feel better. And yeah, I was just like starting to get to know like my place at a job. And that was like almost 2 years. And that was where I started to run. So like yeah, I totally get that part that you said. And so now that you're talking about running, how was this first encounter with running? Is this the only sport you've done, or like have you ever done another sport before?
well, I mean, I grew up playing soccer in like elementary, middle school, um, up till I got to high school. I played a little bit of golf. Um, Me and my dad used to play golf. I played 1 year in high school on the golf team. Um, Skateboarding. I still skateboard some. It just hurts a lot more now falling than it did when I was younger. Um, but I played a little bit of basketball when I was younger, but it was mostly soccer and running. when I was younger, and then like fourth, fifth grade for like track, and then middle school was mostly just soccer. And Then I got to high school, and I think it was my sophomore year. I joined the cross country team and was the best runner on the team. But at that point, I had started kind of drinking and smoking and doing drugs, and I started failing on my classes, so they kicked me off the team. Um, and then I didn't run for probably 10 years after that. But yeah, I played a few sports along the way. And what about
Okay.
yourself? What about you? Did you play anything when you were younger?
No, no,
Still?
no, actually, this is like the first sport. Well, I mean, I used to like dance when I was yeah, like in elementary school, middle school too. And well, I always wanted to do ballet, but yeah, like my father didn't want me like to learn that because he was like, no, you need to learn something so that you can defend yourself, because like living in Mexico, it's like a so yeah, like I did taekwondo when I was like a teenager or like a preteen. I was
Mhm.
like yeah, like 11 years old, I guess. And I mean, I didn't love it, but like, yeah, it was some kind of fun. Mm, and then when I was like 16, I guess I started to do like a body weight training, CrossFit and all that. But yeah, because like I think that most of the people at that age, like, they want to embrace their body or like I don't know, like maybe feel more confident. So that was the main reason why I started training like at a gym and everything. Mm, and then when I started running, it was because I had moved to like another house which didn't have a gym close by. So I was like, well, I need to find something or like a way to start moving because I just cannot be like just here doing nothing. So I was like, okay, yeah, you know what? Like, I'll just go jog something. And I started jogging. At first, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, I'll just go jog and let's see. And yeah, then I met All Social Run. I mean, like I've talked about them in more episodes, and there's where I started to know like all of these like concepts like pace, all of those things that
Long
on
runs or threshold?
yeah,
Yeah,
all of that. And yeah, like I just felt like my body felt freedom while I was running. So yeah, this is like I think a sport that I'm into.
yeah, and it can. I mean, running's really for pretty much anyone, and it doesn't matter
Yeah.
for pace or distance or um, you can just go out there and kind of get lost in the run. And for me, I can just turn my mind off when I go out for a run, and I end up running by myself a lot just for that because it helps me quiet things a little bit. And I can like if I got a lot of things on my mind, I can go for a run, and by the time I'm done, it's kind of most of that's gone.
Yeah, I know. And do you run with music or without music?
I guess it kind of depends how long I'll be out there.
Okay.
If I'm out there for several hours, I'll probably listen to some music at some point. If I'm just out there for 30 minutes to an hour, I'll just go for a run and not take any music with me. Um, but I find myself a lot of times in like longer races or like long runs, I'll have music at some point playing.
Yeah.
And you?
Um, yeah, like I think most of the time I do listen to music. Like yeah, it's just like my therapy or like my yeah, like my time off, like whenever, I don't know, like I can be very busy, like either standing or like, I don't know, like being very active. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna go run. And like my families are like, hey, but you just came from work and you're like really tired. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I need to go run. Like I need to go and like escape or like, and yeah, like when it's that kind of situation, I do have like my playlist and I'm like, okay, yeah, I just want to listen to this song and run and like just imagine, I don't know, like yeah, just like living my, I don't know, my fantasy, like a daydreaming or whatever. But yeah, I've done some races without music too, and I mean, I also enjoy it because like I like to listen like when people run, and sometimes that sound that sounds similar like to the rain. So I don't know, like it also kind of like relaxes me.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is like whenever I'm like oh trying to concentrate and people like start telling me stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
So like
can't think about that right now.
yeah, I'm just like yeah, like I kind of get like freaked out or I don't know. And now that we're talking about this, do you ever like get to get to process your thoughts like while you are running? Like for instance, whenever you run and you're like, "Hey, what am I thinking?" or like, "What's on my head?" And like, do you ever do this insight and like what do you say to yourself while you are running?
Um, I'm not sure if I have. I mean, maybe there are some mantras that I say to myself while I'm running, either like when things get hard or um, I think when I first got back into running in like 2010, you know, in 2008, I wound up in rehab in prison and was probated to a 2 year rehab. And um, while I was there, I started running again after probably 10 years. There was a couple times in the 10 years of drug and alcohol abuse where I had not really ran at all. I would get some shoes and then I would try to go run and it would last maybe 1 or 2 weeks and then I wouldn't do it again for 4 or 5 years. But then like I got to rehab and I started running around this pond that was there and it was about a quarter mile around the pond. And one of the things at that point was like you can change your life while doing this and it can start with this. And then when I moved in 2010 to Wilmington, North Carolina, um, when I would run, that's kind of what I would tell myself. And I would always be like, well, I think that the Bible verse Philippians 4:13 says, for I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I think that carried me for pretty good ways of like getting started because getting newly sober was very difficult. And because after 10 years of basing everything you do around alcohol or drugs, or maybe people who may have similar interest in that, um, getting away from that and then realizing how much of your life was revolved around that. And then to kind of like find people in the running community who weren't possibly trying to party all the time. Um, was a very big change for me. So it was a very positive change, but it was also like um, sort of difficult at the same time. Um, but I guess like all things are kind of hard when you first start. But yeah, like the Philippians 4:13, and then just kind of reminding myself that running is going to help you change your life. Um, and now that I've started the run coaching service I have is called Rare Running, which is recover and run endurance, which is kind of essentially what my life has been for the past 16 and a half years is recovery and running. Um, so it was kind of like Rare Running was just kind of like the acronym for recover and run.
Wow.
I don't know if that really answers your question or not. That was a
Yeah, yeah,
lot.
yeah. Yeah, it does. It does, yeah. I like to ask this because, okay, well, right now I'm gonna ask you like about the things that you said, but I once interviewed um a person and she said that most of the people run away from something or they run like chasing something.
Yeah.
So when she said that, I was like, oh my God, like, because I have felt during my runner phase that I've been both like sometimes I run away from things or like, like trying to like run away from things. And then like I run in order to yeah, like just like to because I just want to yeah, like to connect with the new me or I don't know, like just something I have like a goal or something. So yeah, that whenever like the first time that I heard her say this, I was like, okay, this is really interesting and yeah, I mean like that's what I always ask myself and I also like to ask like my guest this question. So may I ask like with all the respect, how is it that you got into like drugs and well the addictions?
Um, well, I had an older brother that I guess had a lot of friends who came over to the house. He was about 5 years older than me, and I kind of watched them kind of drinking and partying and stuff. And I guess for some reason it intrigued me at an early age. Um, and I guess I kind of wanted to sort of emulate that in a way because it looked fun. And
Okay.
I think in the beginning when I like got into high school and really started trying to drink or party or get into weed and pills and other drugs, I thought it was fun. And I guess at first it was sort of fun. It was like an exploration of something you didn't really know. Um, and what started as fun quickly unraveled into something that was a bit more of an addiction that I didn't realize. Um, when you're 16 years old and you're trying to drink a fifth of liquor by yourself and smoking weed every day and eating pills and other drugs, and you think you're just having fun, um, and but you don't realize that you've kind of set yourself into an addiction that you don't really know is there because you think it's fun in the beginning, and then you start getting arrested for stupid stuff, for like possession of weed or like stuff like that, and then your family's mad at you, and you're like, well, y'all are just upset that I'm having fun. Um,
Okay.
so
And
a lot of it was just, seeing other people do it and then me wanting to continue in it.
okay, okay. And um like at what um how did you realize that it was actually an addiction? Like because you said right now that like maybe you thought like okay, they're getting mad because I'm having fun, but like when did you actually realize that this was an addiction and how and like when was the exact moment that you decided you wanted to change the path of your life?
Ooh, that's a couple different answers on that one. Um,
Okay.
I think maybe the first time that like I think I had already known it was a problem with my drinking. Because most of the time when I drank, even from like 15 years old, I would drink into blackout, and then I would wake up after having passed out and would have like pissed all over myself. I mean, there's no easy way to put it, but that I just felt like that was normal, and I just continued it because I thought I was having fun. And then at 17, I was at a party, um, and was drinking pretty heavily the night before, drinking pretty heavy the night of the party, and got in the first and only fight I've ever been in. And I remember me and the guy were out in the front yard. I remember throwing two punches, and what I thought was him punching me in the stomach, I kind of put my hand on my stomach and like backed up. And then I heard somebody yell knife, and my brother and another guy grabbed that guy, and a friend beside me looked at me and was like, "Man, you're bleeding." And I looked down, and there was blood just kind of shooting out between my fingers. And I moved my hand. He had stabbed me in the abdomen, and when I moved my hand, my intestines actually started falling out. Um, so that was like things went into slow motion.
Okay.
And I woke up the next morning in the hospital, and they said that 2 centimeters either way, I would have died because it severed part of my vena cava vein, which is the main vein for the lower part of your body, and it severed part of my duodenum, which is your main intestine. And they said if I hadn't I got stabbed, I might have died later from alcohol poisoning because my blood alcohol was 0.36, and zero point 0.4 is when your body is supposed to start shutting down. Um,
Okay.
and the doctor who had kind of watched me grow up in church because he had went to the church I grew up in, um,
Okay.
was like, if you are unsure if you have an addiction to alcohol or alcohol abuse, you might want to think about that because most people with a blood alcohol of 0.36 are not going to be coherent in talking to us. And they were like, that is a very alarming level of alcohol that was in your system. Um, and I think at that point, that kind of was maybe an eye opener, but I actually think going through that of getting stabbed and almost dying, once I got off the medication they had me on, kind of sent me over the deep end, as you could say, which led to taking lots of like um, barbiturates and opiates and drinking very heavily and other drugs. And that lasted for a pretty good while. And then I got a couple DWIs, got all impaired. And then that the stabbing happened at 17, and then at 24, I violated probation and got probated to the 2 year rehab. I'd already been to rehab once before that, and had tried to do AA a few times and would go a week or two without drinking or drugs, and then would just say screw it and go right back to it. Um, so it was like there was probably 4 years there of trying to get sober and failing, trying to get sober and failing. And then when I got probated to the 2 year rehab, I stayed there for 8.5 months, um, left early, and had to do 3.5 months in prison. And when I got out, I was sober for a couple months, relapsed. And then towards the end of that relapse, I got to where I was sort of suicidal. This was like 2008, no, 2010. Um, and on March 5th, 2010, I checked myself into a crisis center. And I've been sober since March 5th, 2010. So there was a lot of things that kind of happened from like probably 2000 to about 2008 that were not very good.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
There,
Okay.
there was a lot of family members who were telling me that I needed to get things figured out and either go to rehab or get sober before I actually got sober. So it was, I think there was a lot of friends who were worried about me as well. But
And what did you think that helped you the most? Maybe, I mean, I don't know, maybe the people you were surrounded by, I don't know, maybe your faith in God, or I don't know, like in something. Like, what did you think that made you have that strength?
um, well, I've got a tattoo on my chest, and there's a Bible verse that kind of goes along with it, which is Jeremiah 29:11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to help you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And that's a verse that I feel like the Lord's kind of put in my life, and especially while I was in rehab, it was kind of like a repetitive thing of even when I wasn't looking for it, it would just kind of like come up in odd circumstances. And I think that was something that I held on to, that the Lord had good plans for my life. And um, I just took comfort in that. And while some things felt like they were not good, like He always has good plans for me, or anybody for that matter. And I think that was like just prayer and knowing that there was a bigger plan for my life than, that I maybe couldn't see it in the moment.
Okay. And do you think that now that you're a race director, do you think that that was part of his plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I directed a race for 8 years in North Carolina.
Okay.
That was on some family-owned property. It was about 1,000 acres. It was 2 miles from where I grew up at. And one of my aunts married one of the brothers whose family owns the property, and it was kind of like a rekindling of those relationships after getting sober. Because if I was still drinking, it would have never happened. So that was pretty cool. But it was a 4 mile loop on that property.
Okay.
And we had a 4 mile race, a 6 hour, a 12 hour, 24 hour, and 100 mile, and 100 mile relay. So you could have, for the relay, you could have a four, a six, or 8 person team. Um,
Okay.
and um, it didn't matter how many laps you ran, like everybody could run as much as they wanted. But for the relay teams. And for the 100 mile, you had 30 hours to finish. So I met like through that, I felt like I grew as a person because I had never done anything like that before in my life. Um, so the first year we had it, we only had 25 people show up, which was, you know, for me, I was like, I think it's pretty great that, this is a small grassroots event that, nobody really knew who I was. Um, and we had one person finish the whole 100 miles that year. Um, but through the 8 years of putting on that event, I met a lot of people who came out and did maybe the 6 hour, the 12 hour, or the 100 mile, and had ran a distance PR or did their finish their first 100 miles, and you got to share that with them and their families, because a lot of people would bring their family out and like have their kids run a lap with them. And so it was really cool to see that and get to experience that and be a part of it. And my family like helped a lot with like trail cleanup and like volunteering at aid stations and stuff. So I felt like that kind of brought us together as a family in a different way, as opposed to when I was younger and doing stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I enjoyed it. It was
Okay.
a long weekend though, because like when you're out there you start you start setting up the event on Wednesdays, and then the race starts at 8 on a Saturday, and then it's not done till 2 p.m. on a Sunday. It makes for a long weekend.
Is that the picture that you sent me? Is it on that race?
No, that race is a different one in North Carolina. That is
Okay.
in the place where I held mine was at a place called Allison's Woods, which is in
Okay.
Statesville, North Carolina. The picture I sent to you was a race in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's called Umstead 100. That's
Okay.
yeah. The
Yeah.
it's it the Umstead is the oldest 100 miler in North Carolina, and probably the biggest in North Carolina.
Wow. Oh my God. Well, everything you've said is like really interesting. And at what part of your life did you meet your wife?
We met in 2021 at a friend's house. he was putting on a running event at his house around his neighborhood. Uh,
Okay.
it was a kind of a kooky race. It was kind of like a beer mile, but it was like 4 miles. Um, and he would do it to where you would have to either drink a 16-ounce beer or a 16-ounce chocolate milk before
Okay.
each lap. And it was 4 laps of 1 mile. So you either had 4 beers or 4 chocolate milks. Um, and then we just raced around his neighborhood on a 1 mile loop, and it was pretty fun. But my wife and I both were there at that, and we met at that race in 2021. And then we met in 2021, and then we got married and we met the end of July 2021, and then we got married in July 2022.
Okay.
So we didn't waste a lot of time.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that she runs too, right?
Yes, yes, she does. She does.
And does she also run like a trail?
She runs trail and she runs road. She runs just about everything. Um,
Okay.
so yeah.
And well, let's start to conclude a little bit.
Okay.
How do you think that life and running um, can look a little bit, um, yeah, like how do you think running and life look similar?
I think like let's say you go out and run. Let's say you run 10 miles. So you go out and run 10 miles. The first 10 minutes might feel not great. Um, and then after maybe 2 or 3 miles, you start to feel good and everything feels good for a few miles. And then maybe you've got like a weird pain in your leg at around mile 6 or something. And you're like, what is this? And then maybe a mile later it goes away. And as I kind of look at that like life, like in running in life, like things are going to be good, things are going to be bad. You might get injured or have a setback, like if you get injured, it could be like losing a job, but it's, you're not going to be injured or without a job forever. Or like you might not feel good in the middle of a run, but like every day in life, you're not going to feel great. You're not like some days you're not going to want to get out of bed to just do life. And some days you're not going to want to get out of bed to go for a run, but most of the time you get up and do it anyway
Yeah.
because nobody's really going to do it for you. Like running in life is like if you're not going to do the work for yourself, you're not going to see the results.
And yeah, yeah, that's really, yeah, I mean, it is. And what can you say, like to people who are listening to you for the first time that maybe they don't realize they have an addiction, but like that they do consume, I don't know, like alcohol or whatever other substance.
Um, I think if it's something that they are thinking about that they may have a problem and or an issue, reach out to somebody. Just talk to somebody. And like in the first, if they decide to get sober, like in the first, you know, weeks, days, don't think about 10 years down the road. Just make it through the next 5 minutes. Sometimes it's a minute at a time. Because most of the time, if you start looking too far ahead, you're going to think I'll never get there. But like even for me, some days now, I'm like, I just need to make it through the next 30 minutes. And if I can get through the next 30 minutes, I can get through the next 30 minutes. And that's kind of like being on the run too. Like, especially when you're in a race and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I can do this. I'm not feeling good today. And you're just like, let me get through this next half a mile. Let me get through this next quarter mile. Let me get through this next mile. Even getting sober, like give yourself the grace of learning to feel things that you maybe haven't felt in a long time, because it's not going to feel good, but
Yeah,
it's it's kind of it's life. It's never always going to feel great. And I think for for me, I know when I was drinking, when I didn't feel good, I wanted to drink because I didn't want to feel that way. But now it's like that's life. It's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be pretty. It's not always going to be what Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or most of those things present themselves to be. Like life's going to be kind of muddy sometimes. It's not going to be great every day. Some days you're going to be sad or upset or mad or maybe depressed. Um, but it gets better. It does get better. And then you just learn to appreciate those times, because if you don't have them, you can't appreciate the good times.
exactly. Wow. And the last question, how did you feel in this interview?
Good. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Okay. Well, thank you very
I just feel bad that I can't, my Spanish is so little at the moment.
No, that's okay. I mean, it's also good that you speak English because like in this way, we can also, English speakers can also watch this podcast and be like, oh, okay, look, I got a situation similar, or I don't know, they can relate also. So yeah, it doesn't matter. I think that running goes beyond all of these things, because that's the name of the podcast in Spanish. It's called Beyond Running. So yeah, I think that the important thing is to inspire people, because sometimes it has probably happened to you too, when people are like, "Oh my God, I wish I could run, but I'm not as strong as you," or "I don't have as much discipline as you," or those kind of things. But what people don't see is that we are no superheroes. It's yeah, we all started at some point, and it's just you need to train yourself, your mind, your spirit, whatever you need to train in order to, yeah, just to not give up or whatever. So I really appreciate your time for giving me this time to interview. And well, is there anything you would like to say to the audience?
Um, uh, we all have our mountains to climb, and I had to start somewhere with my running journey, and uh, we are all we are all running our own race, and I think like Garmin has the saying of beat yesterday. Just try to be better than you were the day before, and that's all you got to do. Like just start somewhere and continue. It's going to be hard in the beginning, starting, but it'll be worth it.
Excellent. Well, thank you all for watching, and I'm gonna pause the